Okay, we'll reconvene the meeting of the North Reading School Committee. We've just been in an executive session for the purposes of discussing litigation and collective bargaining with teachers and administrators. And now upon returning to open session, our first order of business is the student report, and tonight we have Kristen Shevlin.
Okay, so boys varsity soccer had a win against Hamilton Wenham on Saturday in PKs 8-7. Volleyball varsity, they have a game tonight at 7 versus Belmont, and it's state's game. Student council is holding their talent show tomorrow night. First quarter ended last Friday. Student council is also holding homecoming on the 19th of November. Winter sports meetings are starting this week and next week. And then on Wednesday the 24th, Powder Puff, the girls' football, is having a game. And then Slam had their meeting last Thursday.
Great.
And then for student work, it's like here's the copy. For my English class, I have to do a project on like an autobiography of my life. And it's split into like 10 sections, and the requirements are right here. It's due on December 8th. I miss when it comes.
I love the first one.
Narrative about a time you got in trouble. There's a page limit.
I was gonna say I wouldn't be able to get past number 1.
This
It's
is
a good
great.
assignment.
It's based on a book that we're reading called Black Boy. So
Oh, okay.
This is great.
Oh, and you have a poem about the place you have lived, narrative on a new situation. Oh, that's interesting. And illustration. That's
See, I would
nice.
really have a
I
problem
like
with the
that.
illustrations. Stick figures only for me. Yeah, the soccer team, that was a great game. I was there. And they play tomorrow against Boston International, and the game is at Boston English at 4 o'clock. That's the quarterfinals of the North Sectional Division III state tournament. So that's great. Any questions for Kristen? Thanks, you did a good job for your first time.
thank you.
Nice job. And you don't have to stay the whole meeting. If you want to get home and do your homework, that's fine with us.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Very much.
Okay, next we're going to, as we often do when we have special guests, we're going to move the agenda around. And John, oh, you need 10 minutes? Okay.
9.5.
So instead of that, we'll get to our, we'll go into continued business, and we have an update on the secondary school building committee and project. Kathy?
Yes, thank you. I'm very pleased to announce that the request for services for the owner's project manager for the secondary school building project was electronically submitted to the MSBA, the Massachusetts School Building Authority, on October 27th, 2010. We received the document back with just a couple of minor changes and sent it back for final approval. We sent it back on November 2nd, 2010. We got the go-ahead from the MSBA to send the RFS to the Central Register of the Commonwealth, so we will officially be advertising on the Central Register for the OPM on November 10th, 2010. So this is a big step forward. The feasibility study agreement was also reviewed by Town Council, and the FSA document packet was mailed to the MSBA on Thursday, November 4th, 2010. So this is the second big document that was under construction that has been completed, signed, and sent back to the MSBA. So this is our this is the way we enter into an official partnership now with the MSBA, so it is official. We know that has arrived. We sent it by certified mail, so we're just waiting to hear back from them. The next step in all of this is for a training regarding the progress payment system to take place at the MSBA. We need to make sure that there's a representative from the district and from the town in attendance, and so we have 2 members of the secondary school building committee that will be attending. They have been identified by the chair of that committee as the subcommittee that will review all invoices when they come in to the secondary school building committee. And they will be attending along with the town administrator and I will also be attending. The training was originally scheduled for 10 a.m., but that has been changed to 1:30 p.m. on that same date of November 12th. So we need to have this training before any invoices can be paid, so that's the very next step. And the next secondary school building committee meeting is scheduled for tomorrow, Tuesday, November 9th, beginning at 6:30 p.m. here in the middle school library.
So on the feasibility study agreement that we submitted, will they get back to us with questions and comments, or is that accepted as is?
That's accepted as is. They had designed that document and sent it to us for our town council to review.
Okay.
So it's essentially done.
Okay.
They had a few spaces that they needed to fill in and they needed to sign on their end. But we've done everything we've needed to do, so it's official.
So we're moving right along the timeline where we should be now, right?
We absolutely are.
And the owner's project manager packages will come back to us from the respondents to the RFP. And they will come back in on the
24th of November.
24th.
Mhm.
At 11 o'clock, and we will pick a short list on the Monday or Tuesday,
The 29th.
29th.
The 29th of November, and then interviews will be scheduled. So there'll be a whole schedule that will be sent, that will be presented. It's being presented to the SSBC tomorrow night.
And then when is the architect brought in? After the OPM is hired?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
This is
Sorry.
exciting.
So,
jumped
but
in.
they play a part in
Yes.
the OPM,
They wo-
the
they work-
architect plays a part in,
They work with us in the selection of
okay?
an architect.
Okay. Great. Any questions? Excellent. Next, we have 2012 budget discussion. As I mentioned at the last meeting, we'll have this on as a regular agenda item. It's not always going to be a whole lot to discuss under this, but Kathy, I don't know if you wanted to just specifically address that tonight.
Sure. The finance planning team, and that's the town-wide team made up of the chairs and co-chairs of the various boards, asked that the town present a summary of their budget and the school present a summary of their budget at the November 19th meeting. So Carl Nelson, as well as the principals and all department heads, have been actively working on developing that summary budget. But essentially, in doing so, we're already engaged in those initial stages of a line-by-line budget development. So it's not just adding a simple percent to a bottom line. We really are already engaged in developing the budget for the FY12 school year. But a summary budget will be presented at the finance planning team on November 19th. And we are working on making sure that it reflects what you had requested, which is that modified level services budget. So that will be presented on the 19th. And Carl just wanted me to let you know that we're on schedule, we're on target, and we will be ready to present on the 19th.
And just to make it clear, this isn't a document that we're going to be held to, and this is our budget. They're looking for a number that's a fairly good estimate of where we think our budget will be. This isn't our budget, they're just looking for a number, and so Carl is basically going through, and I think modified level services is probably, it's really not level services, we understand that because we've lost some things. In the meantime, the administrators, Kathy, and we will build that list of things that we feel need to be added back in. It's likely not gonna happen for fiscal 2012, but here's the list of things that we've cut that need to go back into the system.
So we can prioritize.
Right, so we can set priorities.
It's a good starting point, and I think we need to become more engaged for this year than any other year in recent memory. So this is a good step, even though it is a bit of an effort.
Mm-hmm.
And one thing that made me a little nervous today, I think, Michael Widmer, is he with the Mass Taxpayers Foundation?
He is.
The Suburban Coalition is having its general meeting on December 2nd, I think, in Waltham, and Michael Widmer is quoted in there as stating that he expects, don't be surprised to see a 5-10% cut in local aid for fiscal 2012 in Chapter 70. So I think we still should forge ahead and build the budget we think is necessary, but Michael's pretty spot on with a lot of his predictions. I hope this time he's wrong, because we we survived question 3, but now we are staring that potential cut in the face.
I'm planning to be at that meeting.
Yeah, I plan on going to that too, so
was
it's
invited.
December 2nd in Waltham.
Karen and I attended the MASS, MASC conference last week, and Michael Widmer was there, and he did speak as well. We're hoping to be able to give a short presentation at the next school committee meeting to bring you up to speed on some of the workshops that were attended and some
Okay.
of the information that we did gather around the budget.
And there was a legislative update session as well, where the budget was one of the big center focus of that presentation, so.
So you can-
So there is quite a bit of information that was discussed.
So you'll bring us up to date on that next?
Yeah,
Okay,
absolutely.
great.
I would also like to let you know that there's been a lot of activity in the area of special ed since the beginning of the school year this year. Just since September, we've had 9 new preschool students identified as in need of special education services. That is a very high number from September until November. So I'm also requesting that Patricia Bullard, our Director of Pupil Personnel Services, come to the next meeting and be able to provide some context for some of the other changes that have occurred in special ed this year, where we are incurring some additional costs. We are covering those costs at this time, but they will have an impact as we move forward with budget development. Carl will give us, as he always does, during the second meeting of the month, an update on the FY11 budget. So it makes sense for her to come at that time to be able to provide some detail around some of the numbers that you're going to see in that budget summary.
Are these out of district, or are we keeping them all in
No,
district?
they're in district,
Okay, that's
but they're
good.
requiring some significant additional
Okay.
services.
Okay. So we look forward to that explanation. Any questions on 2012 budget? Okay. I think we're going to call up initially, Mr. Bernard is going to come up with, to discuss the My Voice survey results. He's got Patrick Daly and Justin Madison here with him also, from the guidance department, and 2 laptops. It's a multimedia show. I think Cliff and I are gonna have to move. Well, I know we're gonna have to move.
Cheers.
And then also, we're going to hear, after we talk about the My Voice survey, we're going to talk about the bullying prevention and intervention plan that's been put together for North Reading Public Schools. And then after that, we will have the second reading and hopefully approval of the new bullying policy. What's on? Look at that. Can we, is there any way to shut it?
Dim the lights, yeah.
Well, thank you all for inviting us here this evening. I have with me the school psychologist from the high school, Justin Madison, who has been very, very deeply involved in both the administration of the My Voice survey at the high school last spring and also a great deal of kind of post-survey administration work that's been going on this school year. But maybe just, if I could, to bring some context to tonight's presentation, just go back a little bit to last year. I had become very interested in the work that Mr. Fauché had begun at the middle school when he administered the My Voice survey here 2 years ago and then again last year. And from discussions that I had with Mr. Fauché, I thought that it would be advantageous to the high school to administer the same survey at a high school level at our school, and we did do that last April. In a letter that I wrote to all of the parents of students last March, I introduced the My Voice survey as having been generated by the work of Dr. Russell Qualia at the Qualia Institute for Student Aspirations. And essentially, the My Voice survey centers on 8 conditions that are critical yet often overlooked parts of education and school improvement initiatives. And I'd like to just take a moment to list off those 8 conditions that served as the foundation for the survey that was administered to just about 700 students last